Did you take your time to see the Daibutsu-den and the Kondo Hakkakutoro? This is Caede, your guide. We are finally inside the Daibutsu-den, the Great Buddha Hall. The Great Buddha is so impressive. I will give you a detailed explanation of the Great Buddha and the inside of the hall. As soon as you enter the Great Buddha Hall, you'll finally see the Great Buddha of Nara, which is really called Rushanabutsu. It's huge anyway. His real name is a bit long, so we simply call it Buddha or Daibutsu-sama. The original statue was built between 747 and 749 at the request of Emperor Shomu, and the consecration ceremony was held in 752. Unfortunately, it partially burned down along with the Daibutsu-den twice in wars, and only parts of the pedestal, arms, legs, and the lower body remain from the time of its construction. The head and the other parts were rebuilt in 1692. This Buddha, about 15 meters high and weighing 250 tons, was originally supposed to be a standing statue, but that would have made it about 50 meters high, so they gave up on that idea and made it a seated statue. It is still big enough though, and a total of about 500 tons of copper was used to make the statue. The statue was painted with a mixture of 2.5 tons of mercury and 440 kilograms of gold. So it seems that the Buddha was golden in color at the time. The cumulative number of people who were mobilized to build the statue was a whopping 2.6 million. The population of Japan at that time was only about 6 to 7 million, which means that about 40% of the population was involved in some way in the production of the Buddha. The total cost was about 465.7 billion yen in today's monetary value. That's national project level. It was built to save people's lives, but I guess it must have been extraordinarily difficult to construct. It is said that the reason why they built such a big Buddha was to save people, but it is also thought that they wanted to make Japan a nation that could compete with the countries of the Chinese continent and the Korean peninsula, which had already built a centralized state based on Buddhism at the time. The ears are 2.5 meters long. The eyes are 1.2 meters long. The palm of the left hand facing forward is 1.5 meters long, and the outstretched right hand is 2.5 meters long. Everything is super size. The Buddha is so big because it was thought that the bigger the Buddha, the more people he could save. It is said that the Buddha has 32 physical characteristics that are different from those of ordinary people. I'll explain a few of these typical characteristics. First, let's take a look at the head of the Buddha. His hair is curly and has 492 curls called Rahotsu, which are supposed to represent the wisdom of the Buddha. But of course, it was also what Buddha's hair originally looked like. After being ordained, He devoted himself to strict ascetic practices for more than 6 years and attained enlightenment. During that time, his hair grew so long that it became curly. It is said that one Lahotsu weighs 1.2 kilograms and is about the size of an adult head. There is actually a perm that looks similar in Japan. Until 2015, it was said that there were 966 Lahotsu on Buddha's head. But are there really that many? In order to find out, they used laser, and it turns out that there are actually only 483 Lahotsu and 9 missing ones. It's amazing that people believed there were more than twice as many for over 1,000 years. Now, including the missing ones, we know that there are 492. Can you see the big bead inside a Lahotsu? This is a Nikkeishu, which represents the light of Buddha's wisdom. And the round thing on the forehead is called Byakugo, which is a mass of white hair curving to the right. It is said to be the source of light that illuminates people. Looks a bit like Superman. His ears are bigger than the regular human's ears, right? They are big because they are supposed to be able to hear the wishes of many people. The pose of the hands also has a meaning. The right hand with the middle finger slightly bent facing forward means, "Don't be afraid." And the left hand with the middle finger also slight bent and spread out means, "I'll make your wish come true." Both hands hold a kind of water paddle, which is one of the features of the Buddha's body, to make sure that no one who reaches out to him for help will fall through the cracks. Behind the Buddha is a kohai or halo, which symbolizes the light that the Buddha emits from his own body. Today, there are 16 sculptures of the Buddha in the kohai, but it is said that there were initially as many as 500. And can you see that the Buddha sits on 28 lotus petals? Each petal has carvings depicting the world of the Buddha, most of them from the time of its creation. I didn't know such technology already existed in the 8th century. There are statues on both sides of the Buddha, right? These are called kyoji, and they are statues that guard the Buddha like samurai. The statue on the left side is the Kokuzo Bosatsu, who possesses infinite wisdom and was created in 1752. On the right is the Nyorin Bosatsu, built in 1783, who is said to give treasures when ordinary people pray to him and benefits when monks pray to him. Both are bodhisattvas, which means they are still in training. Since they are not yet enlightened, it is said that they are trying to hide their lack of confidence by wearing glittering costumes. Compared to the bodhisattva, the enlightened Buddha is dressed very simple, isn't he? Farther in, there are statues of 4 heavenly kings who protect the 4 directions. There should be 4 statues to protect the 4 directions, but 2 of them are actually unfinished, and only the heads are complete. It's a little scary. Let's start with the 2 completed figures. The first statue with a brush in his right hand and a scroll in his left hand is Komokten, the guardian of the West. It is said that he has eyes with special abilities. He has a dragon under his control, so a dragon is always beside him at his foot. Holding a pagoda in his right hand and a great bronze stick in his left hand is Tamonten. He guards the north side. It is considered the strongest of the 4 heavenly kings. And the ones that only have heads are Jikokten, who guard the east, and the Zochoten, who guard the south. All 4 are made of wood and were made in 1799. On the back side of the statue of the Buddha, there is a model of what temple looked like when it was first built. So don't forget to look at that too. You can see that it was much bigger than it is now. Many of the buildings of the Todaiji were destroyed by fire and have not been rebuilt. You can see from this model that there were 7-story pagoda on the east and west sides, right? They were about 100 meters high. In fact, they made one replica of these pagodas at the time of the Osaka Expo in 1970. The sorin that was placed on the roof at the time is displayed on your left as you exit the Daibutsu-den, so please look at it later. It must have been a really big pagoda, because only the sorin is already 23.3 meters high. There are also a model of the Daibutsu-den built in 1195, and one of the current Daibutsu-den, the way it was rebuilt in 1709. This large Daibutsu-den is supported by 60 large pillars with a diameter of about 1.5 meters. If you look closely, you can see that the pillars are covered with wood boards with nails in the middle and a metal belt holding them in place, right? This is because the wood boards make the pillars stronger. The color is still a little red, so the inside must have been painted red. The pillar on the left rear side of the Buddha near Tamonten has a hole at the bottom, right? It is said that if you can get through it safely, your wish will come true. However, it's only 37 centimeters long and 30 centimeters wide, so adults should be careful. It would be awkward if you got stuck in here and couldn't get out. The hole is actually the same size as the nostril of the Buddha. It is said that the hole in the pillar was not made for the purpose of going through the hole to improve your luck, but to let the evil spirits escape. They made a hole in the pillar's northeast side because that is supposed to be the direction bad luck comes from. The Buddha is polished once a year in a ritual called Ominugui, in which about 150 people, including monks who have purified themselves, clean off the dust on the Buddha. This has happened on August 7th every year since 1964. It is said that This ceremony has prevented the Buddha from deteriorating. I guess it's important to always keep it clean. Did you take your time to enjoy the great Buddha? There are many other buildings in the Todaiji, so if you have time, take a leisurely stroll and enjoy.